Kuro, turn it up.
Tron Ares.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back.
I'm glad that this did not take 30 years like the
You know what?
like
It
the
might
second
as
one
well
did.
have. I tell people all the time there are certain movies that they're niche, and there are fan bases that accept the nicheness of their movie. Tron is one of those movies, and I don't know whether it's the fault of the property itself for why it's niche, or whether it's just something about it that just doesn't connect to people in ways that, like, say, well, I can't
Everything
say
else.
Avatar, like Avatar, like, because it's like when you think about it, Tron so far with these three movies and the animated show that ran for like 2 seasons, it's like when you hear about it, you get that level of excitement because more than anything, you're watching Tron first and foremost for the visuals. Let's just be real. Like, that was the thing that as a kid, when I saw the original Tron on cable, that's what grabbed me, right? And the story I didn't really click with until I got older.
Mhm.
And then you look at Tron Legacy with me and you, like, I think all of us, we gravitated towards it because, oh shit, Tron, it's updated visuals and Daft Punk's on it. Dope, and that's what
But that's what made
gravitated towards us.
honestly, that's what made Legacy stand out more and survive the test of time, is that we had to wait 30 years for a sequel.
Because they were sitting on that. They kept,
They
we
would
always were
it's
promised
not
we
like
were
they
going
did
to
it.
do a sequel, and then it
No,
just
and it's
never.
well, hold on, Chris. It's not like they were sitting on it because, the movie wasn't this, that, or whatever. No, they specifically said, we want to wait for the technology to catch up and put out a proper sequel that Disney felt would respect the aesthetic of Tron. And they
Right.
proved the point with Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
Granted, when Sam went into the grid and when he was looking for his dad, we saw Sam's version. Sorry, we saw freaking Flynn's version of the grid, and it wasn't the same flat, sort of 3D-ish look.
80s.
The 80s one. We didn't see that. Instead, what we got was a reimagining of the 82 grid, which was cool, but I know that kind of like divided the fan base a little bit.
And I
But
think a lot of that also is like, and which leads into Tron Ares. There was a plot point in Tron Legacy that I felt came off as an afterthought that I wish the movie actually kind of structured itself on, instead of just, oh shit, it's a clone of Flynn, right?
oh
So
no, are you talking about with Clue?
yeah, with Clue, right? Like it just, because like so
No, we did get
well,
the backstory on him. Well, what are you referring to?
I'm saying it. So in Tron Legacy, for those that remember, Flynn had found something in the grid wherein his idea of what was going to be the next big thing was, hey,
The isotopes.
yeah, the isotopes, where you can bring
the
somebody in, like if
Yeah.
somebody, for instance, if they're sick with cancer, you can bring them into the grid and kind of take out the bad isotopes within them and remove it, kind of like how you remove bad code,
Yeah.
and you can cure that person. And that was going to be the big game changer of it.
Yeah.
And I think they briefly mentioned it, but then they were so focused on Clue and that whole thing that it's like, that's a good idea. And it just,
don't you remember, the ISOs, they were a manifestation within the grid itself. It was nothing that Flynn created to begin with. It was
it was always
just
there in the first, yeah.
He created Clue, on the other hand. Now, when he realized, oh God, my creation has gone rogue, or is doing its job a little too well, and he completely destroyed all the ISOs, and you find out that Korra is the last of the ISOs, the only proof that the ISOs exist. That, that's where that whole thing went down with that second movie. But that was 2010, okay? Like 2010, 2011 was when that movie dropped. Now, granted, the movie did make like almost half. Like, was it 400 million? Like $500 million, something like that, and it was considered a flop, like financial failure.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
when the movie, we were supposed to get a sequel, and if mine, like, not to mention the additional side content. If you have the Blu-ray version of the movie when it came out, there was the whole Flynn Lives storyline. You got
yeah,
to see both users who are like who played the roles of both Tron and Ram.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Bruce Bottler and
yeah,
yeah,
and Sam, telling Alan, like, hey, you're in charge. You don't need to worry about the board. I'm taking the company back. Boom, boom, boom. Income. Like, we're in it. Like, we got this. And then when you add in the thing with Flynn Lives, and you see both Tron and Ram together, I'm like, yo, this is either going to be like the perfect bookend, or we're going to get like another. Hopefully we can get like another story in the future movie or something.
yeah.
Fast forward to 2015. The Tron 3 was supposed to come out, and somewhere in between the Flynn Lives side story on the Legacy Blu-ray, followed by the Tron Uprising
Uprising.
animated series, which ended on a cliffhanger and was
Yeah,
pretty much
per
canceled.
usual of cartoons of that sort.
And and it was stupid because it was actually getting, like, it was good. Fast forward, like, all of that was supposed to like lead up to this third movie that was supposed to be released in 2015. This movie never got released. What ended up happening around 2015? Disney bought LucasArts, and they just focused all their efforts on Star Wars.
Yeah, which I mean, that's to be expected and stuff. And I think also
And because of that, and because you chose to stake your, plant your flag on a franchise that everybody knows and loves, and is quote unquote guaranteed to make money, depending on who's at the who's driving that car. But that's another conversation. You chose to focus. You chose to focus all your efforts on that, and instead of focusing on your own IP, which there was something there to really bring out Tron as a franchise. Because the problem with these movies and why they never like truly flourish the way that they should, one of the biggest reasons is you never gave it time to breathe.
Well, that's my thing is also too, I think, here's the thing, like, when your box office for your movie, and don't get it twisted, they did full court press promoting Tron Legacy, so you can't
They
say
did.
they didn't promote
pretty
it.
much slapped Daft Punk all over it.
So it's like they promoted Tron Legacy, and I think it's the aspect of, I think they had way too high of expectations on it, probably because of how much money they put in Tron Legacy. Don't get it twisted. That definitely looked like a very expensive ass movie to make. That was not cheap. I mean, hell, even the 80s movie wasn't cheap as hell to make at that time, right?
Yeah, it was
granted, it didn't put them in bankruptcy like the Black Hole and the Black Cauldron did and shit, but still, like, it was kind of like, all right, can we make our money back? And I think with Legacy, they shot too much to the moon because of the fact that, hey, if our MCU movies are making $1 billion, maybe we can get that from Tron Legacy. And if I remember correctly, like, Tron Legacy made, what was it?
It was like,
it made like 409 million. Now, usually if you double your budget, that's usually what you have to make back, which it did, but like, that still puts it at like $340 million, which you made 409 million. You made a little bit of a profit, but it probably wasn't to the profit margin that they wanted, which, whatever, it is what it is. So now you're in a position with Tron Ares where you're like, all right, Tron Ares is only 180 million. So not really any crazy more than the last one, just 10 million more. But I think what benefits Tron Ares more than Legacy is that plot point that I mentioned to you, that's basically the crux of this movie, basically, is, hey, Flint had this idea of the permanence, because now they can 3D print things from the grid into the real world, but only for 29 minutes.
But see,
So
but that
now,
was that, and of course that was the only drawback is we can bring stuff in like from the digital world into the real world. The only drawback is they only last 29 minutes.
yeah,
And of
that was
course,
the thing.
going back to what I said earlier, the only exception being Cora, who
We had
who
Flynn's.
still to this,
She had Flynn. Remember, she had Flynn's disc. That's how she was
she
able to come in.
did, she did, and even though that was the case of having his disc and closing off the what was it? They closed
Grid
off the
from that
yeah, they
area.
closed off the grid from access from the outside. Again, trapping him.
Yeah, traffic. So, like, the course of this movie is you're watching now. It's a new world. This takes place some years after Tron Legacy. Flynn's kid pretty much gave up the company to these two girls. And they basically take over Flynn's vision of, hey, this is what we want to do with the company. We're still making video games for consumers that actually love what we do. Then on the other side, you have Dillinger Company, where they're doing what Dillinger did before, where he's in the weapons and the military stuff. And his grandson is like, hey, I can 3D print out these dope fucking designs from the grid and it'll work. But again, like I said, the caveat is it only lasts 29 minutes. And what you end up finding out is that both parties, Incom and Dillinger, are trying to find this code that can make what they print out permanent, basically. And it's dope. Like, we're in this world right now in 2025 where anybody can get a 3D printer. So I like that basic concept of, oh, they have a giant 3D printer. That makes sense. I mean, let's be real. You can print out a 3D print gun at this point.
You can. And the crazy part is the way that they showed the lasers like etching all of this together. I was like, dude, we're not far from this.
Yeah, we're really not.
I really believe we are not far from this thing being being an actual reality.
And I think that's what makes this movie work in a sense, because I guess because technology has reached this point now with 3D printing and AI and all that stuff, you're able to craft a story of this character Ares, played by Jared Leto, who is now the new master computer program. Basically, that's pretty much who Ares is.
Which according to the movie was built on an old code of Tron.
Yeah. So you have this character who, and we've seen plenty of these sci-fi movies where it's always the AI or the computer that has a question of its humanity and living. And
which it kind of gives it away in the beginning, like when he's first set foot outside in the real world,
he hears the rain.
Yeah, he hears the rain and sees it. And the moment he said the word "feel," all the other programs around him were like, "I'm sorry,
feel."
They're like, "I'm sorry, what? What is feeling? I don't understand."
And you know what I like about it, because on the opposite end you have Jodie Turner-Smith. She plays Athena, who is like his second in command and such. And because she wasn't in the real world in the way that Ares was when we initially seeing it, she doesn't have any sort of clue on like what the fuck Ares is talking about. So to your point, like, you kind of like, yeah, so it makes sense why Ares is kind of sort of questioning his existence, because Athena never got that opportunity to really like have that experience.
Well, Athena was never a master control.
Well, that too. So it's kind of like you see, and you know what? Funny enough, this is the tamest that you ever see Jared Leto, and it works.
That's what I told everybody that asked me about this movie. Like, oh man, how was he in this movie? Everybody was assuming the worst when it comes to him, and I get it. Given his track record and given his personality, yada yada yada, I get it. This is honestly the most tame that he's probably ever been.
And it's a good tame, because it's like, I think that's what you expect. Like, you want Jared to not go crazy because he's playing a legit computer program that doesn't have much of a personality. He's trying to figure out his personality, and it makes sense.
Yep. Honestly, outside of the, if I'm not paying attention to the Jesus beard and hair, half the time I forgot that was him.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it work, because you see him figuring out what his existence is. And then you get the plot point with Eve Kim, who is the CEO of Incom. And she's like, we find out her sister, death or whatever and stuff, which the movie ends up explaining what happened to her. but like she's dealing with, hey, I gotta find this code because this is what my sister was doing before she died. Again, these are things that if you've watched a lot of movies like me and you have, we've seen this sort of thing before where it's like, hey, I'm trying to help out this last will and testament of what my brother slash father or whoever in my family did so I can be at peace kind of thing. And it works, because she's with Ares. Ares is kind of her proxy of working through her problems, basically.
Oh yes, there was a part where there's a part in the movie where Ares gets into the Incom server, and right when we see him like hop inside and we see like the literal digital flow of information coming at him, I'm like, and this is where Skynet learns that humanity is a threat to itself.
Well, it's opposite because Ares is like, it's like,
yeah, I made that joke, like I made that joke to myself, and then I was like, or this is when he discovers the other AI and tells him, yeah, I'm about to go ahead and take over this real quick and pull an Ultron. But no, he's like, I'm just gathering all this information. I step out of it, and now I know everything about Eve Kim, probably better than she knows herself.
Yeah, and you know what? And I also think what makes it great,
which is scary about AI.
And I think that's what makes it great because you have Evan Peters playing Julian Dillinger, and I think what makes it work is that much like in real life, you have these people in tech that don't understand the fucking technology that they have, and they think that they have a measure of like, oh, I control it. And Gillian Anderson plays his mom, who was the daughter of old boy in the original Tron, Dillinger, Ed Dillinger. And she's like, do you really think you can control this? Because like, you don't know what this thing is capable of that you created. And that makes sense because that's, if you look at real life right now, you have a lot of people in tech that don't understand AI. That right now, AI is basically about the AI bubble is basically about to burst now because these companies didn't understand it fully on what it could do and what it couldn't do because of how they sold it.
But until then, it's the Wild West with it right now.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that makes this movie great is that it's able to show those mirror images of what's happening right now because everything that you see Julian Dillinger do, that's some shit that I could see somebody in the real world doing. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna make these things. I'm gonna do whatever. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense because you sell the military on something that can only last 29 minutes. You're just trying to get your money and get the fuck on out.
Yeah.
Damn the consequence.
Listen, we are living like in our year of 2025. We've seen a number of companies finesse other companies,
and that's what he was doing. He was finessing, and I laughed because I was like, "Oh my god, that is real as fuck." Yeah, that is real.
Way too real. Just from looking at that, I'm like, dude, is this really is the year of finesse for companies?
I dare anyone to sit there and say that's fictional. I'm like, you really do not know the business world. There is so many people that will finesse on some bullshit like that. I'm like, that's real.
Google search is all I can say.
That's what's appealing to me about this movie. It's real as shit, even though we're watching people in the digital world on bikes and shit. And light up effects and 9 Inch Nails music blaring, which by the way, I want that fucking album for this soundtrack for this movie.
I've already picked it up.
I need it because I like when they said 9 Inch Nails was doing the music.
This is what 9 Inch Nails was.
9 Inch Nails, they can do some good instrumentals, straight up. Like I ain't gonna fucking deny that shit, right? But it's just like you coming off Daft Punk, who had a solid fucking album with that Tron Legacy album, and it's like, I guess 9 Inch Nails, and then you hear it, it's like, all right. You know what? I wasn't familiar with your game, 9 Inch Nails. You got it.
See, but Chris, now this is where I have a problem, but at the same time, I did, like I love the score, but there were moments. I don't know if it was just the theater that we were in, but there were times where the music was completely overpowering the conversation that was happening during a chase.
See, I probably want to watch it in
I have to go to a science theater.
Yeah, I actually want to go to the Air and Space Museum, probably out in Virginia, because I think the one in DC is still being constructed. They're still kind of doing construction on that.
No.
Oh, they stopped?
No, I'll tell you about that part after the review.
But like, it probably would help to know if that's just the theater that we were in at the time, and then just might be just a normal thing. But I do agree with you because it was just like, all right, I can hear the conversation. I got good hearing, but there might be somebody else to be like, well, what the fuck did they just say? And it's
So
like,
there was a couple of people in our that were sitting with us that said, dude, I couldn't even make out what they just said at that last part. There's times when the music got real treble heavy, and I'm like, dude, this movie lacks bass.
yeah. So it's
I'm like,
like,
where's the bass with the score here? What's going on?
so I mean, like I said, it's a like I said, I love the soundtrack, but it's just one of those things where I probably will have to go back to double check. And if anybody that's listening to this review watches the movie, let us know if that was just, hey, maybe our IMAX screening was just off, that night when we watched it, and that's why. So just to kind of get an understanding of it, because I definitely don't want to ding the movie for something that wasn't the movie's fault. It probably was just the theater and the speakers and shit.
Nah, I plan on seeing it again in at the Udvar Hazy.
Yeah, so visually great. I like the fact that they took everything visually with people being in the grid, and I like that they show the difference between both companies in terms of how their grid is set up. Like obviously, Incom is the good guy, so it's very light,
Yep,
heavenly, and all that. And
light blue,
light blue, all that stuff, and then Dillinger's is red and dark, and I like it. It's great. It really shows the sort of differences, and the makeup of it and stuff. And I like how they show the visuals of like, hey, what happens when they try to hack into the other company? Oh, that's what it looks like. Makes sense, know. And it actually, I like that. I like I always love the visuals of. Kind of reminds me of Reboot, basically. Like Reboot.
I was just about to say that. Like every time you see the user or admin execute something in the computer, you see like a literal block come down, and I'm like, dude, this is straight out of Reboot. Like I'm loving this.
Yeah, and so I'm not going to spoil this, but like Jeff Bridges is in the movie.
Yeah, he already spoiled the movie himself by saying he made a cameo.
Yeah, but even then, like I won't spoil the scenario of what happens with his cameo. I will say, like, it's great. There was a lot of people really like, oh my god, I love Jeff Bridges, and it's great. You'll love it. Just the whole sequence leading into it is dope as shit. I'm still feeling some way about like Bruce Boxleitner not being a part of it because it's like, dude, that's the guy.
Bruce
that was
wasn't
Tron.
in it. So yeah, Tron. That's we went through this entire review for the last 22 minutes on a movie called Tron, like Tron Ares, and we did not mention Tron once because Tron is not in this movie. Bruce did not return for the film. As a matter of fact, Disney didn't even ask him to return.
It's like you had the guy in the original Tron Legacy and Uprising, and you didn't bring him back for this. Like,
and you didn't even get old boy that played Flynn's son. You didn't get Sam. You didn't get the actor who played Sam Flynn back either.
Yeah, and like I said, I think part of what you were saying earlier about what it was when it was supposed to drop before it got delayed. Part of me feels that was supposed to be a continuation where we were going to get those two actors, and I think just the passage of time and where those actors are at in terms of what projects they're doing, because Bruce Boxleitner is still doing work,
and he wanted to do it.
Like, yeah, and I know, and I
said he would love to come back to do Tron.
And it's like I don't know who is making the decisions at Disney, because even if you brought him back as Alan, kind of like working by proxy with the company, I would have been fine with that because that makes sense because that's how he was in Tron Legacy. He was like kind of like the guy that was just hanging around Incom, kind of being the sort of like canary in the coal mine, like, hey, don't do that, do this, blah, blah, blah. And it made sense, right? And it would have been great to kind of at least see that at the very least, but
or just to see any of the other, familiar characters from the first two movies back, because they're all still around. They're still with
us. And funny enough, the movie teases those characters, so it's like, and it's clear that much like Tron Legacy, they're teasing something to come after this, which I mean, great, but like, hopefully, we're not waiting.
Well, a long time. Considering how we just had to wait like another
15 years.
No, we had to wait. So the
Tron
first
Legacy came out in 2010. So.
Yeah, it came out in 2010. And remember, the sequel that we were supposed to get was supposed to come out 4 or 5 years later. Fast forward to 2025. So, yeah, we had to wait 15 years. I'm hoping that, given the state of where Disney is with Star Wars and all that, they can finally take a break and come back and focus more on exploring more of Tron, because
you have something good with this.
You have something good. There is definitely something good there, but give the franchise enough time to breathe. Just don't just put it out and look at numbers and say, "Oh, this didn't do $1 billion in game money," and just throw it in the trash
And that's what I'm saying.
for the next 20 to 30 years.
And that's why I say I feel that speaks more to the business side of like the companies and where their expectations should lie, more than anything else. Because I always, I think a lot of us we fall into that trap of blaming the product and not like how the company's expectations falls into how they promote it. Because like I said, they went full core press with Tron Legacy. People did go out to see it. They did love it. It's just Disney, for whatever weird reason, was like, it should have made $1 billion. That's like, motherfucker, you're not gonna make $1 billion off Tron Legacy. Chill. Like,
you're talking about making $1 billion off of an IP that you haven't touched in over 30 years.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not saying that they have to put out a Tron movie every year. That's not what any of us are saying.
I'm not saying that either.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying put it out in a timely manner that's going to still keep that property in their head. You know what I'm saying?
I would say given how much VFX you want to put into it.
3 years.
I was going to say 3 or 4 because instead of doing like the typical thing, which is like asset flipping, taking the old assets from like other like from the previous projects, and that's what helped them put the movie out quicker. You could do that, but I love it when they do something brand new. Like, good example being the light cycle chase finally being brought in real life.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing.
A light cycle chase in LA. That scene was dope.
Oh yeah, it was. Like I think that's what made this movie really stand out, is because they did something very unique. Because think about it, like, yeah, we enjoyed Tron Legacy. We saw the life cycle thing because
we got to see the
Legacy
games. We're seeing everything inside the computer,
and that's one thing. Because Legacy, to me, at the time, we never really did a full review of Legacy like that. But like, I think my gripes with Legacy, it just felt like, okay, you're just giving us the 1980s movie with a fresh coat of paint. You didn't really bring anything new to the table other than like, oh, we got, Clue and Flynn and stuff.
It was a retread with extra steps.
Yeah, so it's like with this one, you're bringing something unique because, like you said, that whole light cycle chase was dope as shit. Nighttime and all that stuff, it works, right? The concepts of, oh, we have this gun that can shoot you into the grid automatically. We don't need you to put you in the office. I was like, oh, that's scary.
You took the concept of of a device that you had to be inside of a like an office to use, and just say, nope, here it is. Unzip the gym bag and here's the gun. Because I think the ideas of what they present in this movie opens up some dark possibilities that you can do story wise, like the idea of, well, what if instead of us making prisons, we just shoot criminals into the digital world? That's some scary shit. Yeah, how wild would that be? And
that would be a dope plot line to do. Like, what's the ethics of doing some shit like that?
And to think, the moment you go into that world and you become, because you're a physical being that's going in as a digitized version of yourself.
You die in real life.
I was gonna say, once you're de-resed in there, you're dead.
You're dead. World. There ain't no coming back from that shit. Like, and
there's no Control Alt Delete.
And I think that's what makes it scary. Because even in original Tron, it was the same thing. It was like, that's why the master computer threw Flynn into the computer. Like, I'll just get rid of you and throw you in the computer, and you're just gonna be trapped there forever. And I was like, yo, I would be scared shitless. So it's like, that would be an interesting story to kind of tackle, because it's like, what happens when it gets into the wrong hands? And like,
I mean, that's kind of what Dillinger is for, because that was the whole thing with Dillinger having that gun in the first place.
It was military.
And dude, that's what's so crazy. You were gonna sell this to the military,
and that's why I'm saying, that's why I think, to your point, that's what makes these stories and them need to continue make sense, because like, you could really do something that kind of shows the ramifications in the real world and in the quote unquote digital world for what this world is. I'm like, yo, this is actually pretty okay. You got something. Let's work with this. So I'm hoping everybody goes out to see this film. I
highly recommend seeing this in IMAX, and not at your local theater. Go to a science theater. and watch this movie.
Oh yeah, it's worth it. Like I said, Jared Leto, funny enough, is actually pretty good. I think everybody came to work in this movie. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I didn't really hate any of the people in this film. Like, if anything, I kind of was shocked Gillian Anderson was in it because I didn't know she was in it. So, so she was in it, and Hassan Minaj is in it from The Daily Show. I was like, oh, it's that guy. Cool, you know. But yeah, definitely go see it and check it out. And yeah, that is it. Peace out.